Our final speaker is someone who is very active in helping retired folks. I noticed some white and gray heads around here, so this will be especially of interest. And after Robby Stern speaks, I want to hear from all of you. So it's coming up in 10 minutes. Robby serves as staff counsel, head lobbyist, and special assistant to the president of the Washington State Labor Council for 15 years, is now a member of the executive board. He is also president of the Puget Sound Alliance of Retired Americans and vice president of the Washington Alliance of Retired Americans. Robby has been very active in the labor movement during his working life and is one of our state's strongest advocates for the interests of working people. Please help me welcome Robby Stern.
So my job here tonight is basically to say, what the heck are we going to do? How are we going to do this? You know, my job is to create a call for action. I think that we pretty much can all agree that all Americans who are willing to work hard and play by the rules should be able to find a decent job, get a good home in a strong community, retire with dignity, and give their kids a better life. I think all of us can agree on that. That's pretty simple. But the reality is, if things keep going the way they are, that's not going to be the dream that we or our kids or our grandkids are going to experience. I don't know how many of you have been following the news, but just last week, we had a bunch of young people in New York City occupy Wall Street, and they've been there now for 12 days. There were house meetings on Sunday around the country, around the contract for an American Dream. Washington Community Action Network and Working America went up to Suncadia Resort in Cle Elum, where the Association of Washington Business was meeting, and challenged the regional vice president of Chase Bank to say to her, it's you that needs to be paying because you're getting the tax breaks that's causing the cuts that are vital needs of people in our state. They went up there and they challenged. And at the same time, Working America went downtown in Seattle, took over an intersection, and took arrests in front of Chase Bank as well. Last week, the mayor of Seattle signed a paid sick days ordinance. We're now one of 3 cities in the country that requires that every worker, or almost every worker, in the city of Seattle receive paid sick days. A huge advance. There's discontent all over. There's discontent all over, and we know that. But in order to win this battle that we're in, and we're in a heck of a fight, because the Wall Street interests that David talked about and the insurance industry that's controlling our healthcare system, they know what they got and they like it. And they're going to use every single tool in their toolbox to make sure that we can't shift that around, that we can't change that. So we should not underestimate the battle that we're in, the commitment that it's going to take, and then the question is, what do we do? And I have a couple of ideas that I'd like to put out to you. Number one, join an organization. This is not something you can do as an individual. I understand that a goal of Move On Tonight is to move from 150 members in this council to 200 members in the council. There were only 50% of you out there who were members of Move On. Join up. We're not going to win this battle unless we're organized. We're not going to win this battle unless we're part of organizations that are carrying on the fight. You know, you look at what's happening in the Arab Spring, and the way that it was presented to us that it happened in Egypt was people turned out spontaneously in Tahrir Square. But that's not what happened. People belong to organizations. And those organizations called out their members and said, come to Tahrir Square. The time is now. This is the time when we're going to challenge the dictatorship. Come out and be with us. It was their presence in organization that made it possible for them to be brought together. And the other thing that happened was that those organizations found a way to come together and fight together in coalition. And that's the second piece. So if you're an individual who's out there, who's interested in a future where people who work hard can have decent jobs, live in decent communities, retire with dignity in decent communities, and pass something better along to their children, find yourself an organization that's working on some piece of that and join it and participate in it and encourage the leaders of that organization to join up with other organizations so we can create something really big. Because I want to tell you, it's going to take something really big to turn this around, to take away the power from Wall Street that has put us in this mess that we're in now. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the organization that I'm a part of because I think we're a good model. The Puget Sound Alliance for Retired Americans, not of retired Americans, but for retired Americans, is an organization with people from the age of 21 to 96. Now, you might ask yourself, what the heck are people who are 21, 22, and 23 doing in an organization called the Puget Sound Alliance for Retired Americans? And by the way, we're part of a Washington State Alliance for Retired Americans, which in turn is part of a National Alliance for Retired Americans. And we are not the AARP. So the reason why we're able to bring together this multi-generational organization, and our youngest executive board member is 23, and she's the one that created our Facebook page. And we've also made sure that our executive board is diverse, not only in terms of women and men, but we've made a very deliberate effort to reach into communities of color, because that's an important place to go. And our main reason for existence is we are fighting to preserve Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Now, Social Security is under the most serious attack that it has been in its 75-year history. I just want you to remember that Social Security has not contributed one penny to this deficit. Not one penny. And it's important for you to know that. We've been paying into it, and we're now taking out what we paid in. It has not contributed one penny. But it's under attack for reasons that David laid out. And it is very important, not only that we defend it, but we pass it on as a legacy to our kids and our grandkids. The reason why young people are part of our organization is because they understand we're fighting for them. We're fighting for them, and we're fighting for their futures. And the same thing is true in our fight for Medicare and Medicaid. But, this is important, we as an organization do not only fight around issues of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. When a coalition came to us and said, we need your organization to help us win paid sick days, we worked on that. When we were approached by the Washington Immigration Reform Coalition and said, we need your help in trying to get humane and just treatment for immigrants to this country, we worked with them and continue to work with them. When we are asked by unions to stand with them when they are in fights with their employers, or to fight with them for good jobs for all working people, we do that too. And the reason why is because we can't just be for ourselves. And the way that we're going to win this battle, is by being willing not only to take on the fights that are important to us, and I'm retired, I'm 67, but it's important that I be willing not only to take on the battles that are important to me as an older person, as a retired person, but I'm willing to put myself out there and fight for other people who are having other struggles, earn their trust, and in earning their trust, we can build something much bigger. And that's what we're about doing. We're about building a movement in this country, and we have the potential to do it. We have the potential to build that movement. So I would ask any of you who are here tonight, who are not yet members of an organization that's fighting for a compassionate and humane dream for this country, because that's what we all have, become a member of that organization. And then encourage your organization to work with other organizations. And let's build ourselves a movement that can make this country what we want it to be and what it can be. I'm just going to end with one quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King said that the arc of history is long, but that it bends towards justice. We have to grab that arc all together and pull it down all together to make this the kind of country and the kind of world we all want it to be. Thank you. That's yours. That's yours.